Have you noticed how every trip to the grocery store feels a little more expensive? You fill your cart with the same items, but your paychecks simply don't stretch as far as they did a few years ago. Inflation is often framed as an unavoidable economic storm, but the architecture of the dollar makes the constant erosion of value an intentional design choice. It is a feature of a system built exactly 8 decades ago. In the summer of 1944, the world was bleeding. World War II had left the economies of Europe and Asia in absolute ruins, their industrial bases completely destroyed. But across the Atlantic, the United States stood completely untouched. Its factories were humming, and its vaults held a staggering 75% of the entire world's physical gold. With that immense leverage, delegates from 44 nations gathered at a luxury hotel in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. They were there to build a brand new financial machine to restart global trade. The rules written in those rooms handed an immense unilateral advantage to the United States. They established the precise mechanism that quietly drains the value of your savings today. This diagram shows the core agreement. The dollar became the reserve currency, pegged to gold at $35 an ounce. With this anchor, every participating nation pegged their currency directly to the dollar. For nations desperate to rebuild, this looked like a stable, reliable foundation. Holding dollars was seen as being quite literally as good as holding gold. But a trap was baked into the rules. If France wanted to buy energy or Japan needed to import steel, they were strictly required to conduct that international trade in US dollars. This created an exorbitant privilege. While every other country had to physically manufacture goods and export them to earn dollars, the United States could simply print them. America emerged as the only country capable of funding massive deficits without immediate consequence, while the rest of the world absorbed the effort required to produce that wealth. But there was a mathematical contradiction hidden in the architecture. To supply a rapidly expanding global economy, America had to constantly export dollars, meaning it had to run perpetual trade deficits. This scale shows the paradox. The more dollars printed to meet demand, the less physical gold held in reserve to back them up. By design, the system mathematically required America to break its promise. By the late 1960s, French President Charles de Gaulle did the math. He looked at the expanding money supply and realized America was printing far more currency than it could honor. France quietly called their bluff, demanding 3,000 tons of gold. Germany, Japan, and Switzerland followed, causing a massive drain from Fort Knox. With the reserves hemorrhaging, the machine finally broke. On August 15, 1971, President Nixon went on television and severed the dollar's convertibility to gold without holding a single international vote. The next morning, the entire world woke up holding a currency backed by nothing. It proved that any financial structure built on a mathematical contradiction will eventually, invariably, collapse. Logically, the 1971 collapse should have ended the dollar's reign. Instead, it maintained an absolute grip as the world's undisputed reserve currency. Leaving the system was no longer a simple policy choice. Decades of trade had created a closed loop, where essential energy imports like oil and massive national debts were already cemented in dollar-denominated contracts. To exit the currency was to exit the global economy itself. This created a terrifying new reality. Without the rigid anchor of physical gold limiting the money supply, there is no longer any physical mechanism to stop the United States from printing trillions of notes out of thin air. And that unchecked expansion directly targets your wallet. Every new dollar rolling off the presses actively dilutes the money you already hold, continuously exporting inflation into your daily expenses. The Bretton Woods framework remains the foundation of global finance today, though it has shifted into a more volatile state, backed solely by faith. And as the money supply expands exponentially, that faith is rapidly running dry. You are faced with a stark choice. You can keep storing your labor in a currency mechanically designed to melt away, or you can start accumulating real physical assets that sit safely outside a broken financial machine.